stop today because I made sure I fixed it last week on Monday rather. So we talked about some tiny formulas in Excel, right? And I told you guys how to do this and all that. But today, we're going to, before we go to Power Query, we're going to turn it up a notch. Though this table does not really need a lot of Power Query activity, but I'll just show you guys and discuss Power Query. Right. So I want to I want to okay. I want to separate something else, right? Let's assume I want to just pick out the birth month number. I have a reason for doing that because I want to show you guys DAX formulas with Excel. We're going to just talk about two different DAX formulas using Excel, right? Then let's say I want to take out the month. So this will be text, and I'm just taking these and we going with the month number, right? So this is going to give me 0601 and everything. So what I want to do here is, let me see if I can, so I'll copy this and paste values. So I just want to make sure that it's not going to give me dates format. I want to change this to number. Okay. I know number should be aligned to the left. Okay. Okay. So just give me a moment. I'm trying to convert this to
What's in the screen now?
just a simple. So this should be sales values.
What's going on?
This should be general. All right. So what I want to show you guys is how we can replace these numbers and convert them to this
I
one
can see your screen.
using that. Can you guys see my screen? Can other people see my screen?
Yeah,
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, it has started showing now. It was not showing before.
Okay. So what if there might be situations whereby this month might be given to us as numbers, right? This month might be given to us as numbers. We are expected to we are expected to change the month or replace these numbers as months, right? Basically we know that one is January, two is February, and all that, right? They might expect us to replace them as months, right? And they might not be given to us or the year might not be given to us, just months, right? The day might not even be given to us because we cannot use these numbers to do a bar chart. It looks unorderly. So we need to use the month name to do a bar chart. So what do? We have to use something called DAX formulas, right? So I'll just name this new column DAX months. Okay. So I want to change this to the month. So what I can just do is I want to do a formula called switch. Okay. Switch simply means the column from which we are picking it from, right? The column from which we're picking it from, comma. The next one now is the value. So what value? We want to change anywhere we see um 01, we want to change it to January. Anywhere we see 02, we want to change it to, let's call it February, right? We want to change it to February. Then anywhere we see 03, we want to change it to March. Okay. Then anywhere we see 04. So we're going to do it like that up to 12. But let me see if we can just do it up to April. So I'll just know if this stuff is working because it's showing me like a date stuff. Okay. So I think I need to change this stuff to numbers. I don't know why is let's see. Okay. Let me see why this is working like this. So okay. All right, I think I know what I'll do. So I don't know why this stuff is not working, but I will just add this plus I want to just change it to number plus 0. Okay. Then I'll so the idea is I want to just have it as numbers so that I can work with it. I think it will only work as numbers. Then I'll control C this and just paste the values, right? So I can delete this. Then I'll come here, open, insert this, and call this. I can say month number here, right? Then I can say DAX month here. So this should work. So I'll just minimize this to general. So this should work. Okay, this should work. So let's try that again. So I'm going to say switch, then expression. This should be, I'm just going to select this, comma. Then the value should be anywhere. Okay, anywhere I have 6, I want it to be replaced as June. So let me see if this will work before I proceed. Okay, good. So it works. So anywhere I have 6, I want it to be replaced at June. So just like switch. Switch is basically replace, right? Replace 6 with June, replace this with this. So I'm going to go again. Anywhere I have, so I think let me start with 1. Anywhere I have 1, I want to replace it with January. Okay. Anywhere I have 2, I want to replace it with February. Okay. Anywhere I have 3, I want to replace it with March. Okay. Then anywhere I have 4, I want to replace it with April. Then 5, we want to replace with May. 6, we want to change that to June. 7, we want to change that to okay, I think I should put a quote here. 7, we want to change that to July. Then 8, we want to change 8 to, I think, August.
And convert it to a number. So January needs to be the number 1, February the number 2. We're going to use
9 should be, let's say, I think it's about September.
it's expecting a serial number, which
September, then 10 should be October, then 11 should be November, and 12. So we can just say else, we can leave, instead of writing 12 December, we can just say December, right? And I'll click on enter. So that automatically changes my entire dates, right? So if we look for 12, automatically 12 will be December. So let me explain the formula again, right? If we look here, it said switch, right? The first thing in the switch is expression. Expression means the column. So we can just select the column name, the first cell there, right? We selected 6. That's why it gave us this. Then the next thing is value. So what value do you want? What is the first value we want to switch? The first value we want to switch is definitely we want to start from the first number, which is January 1, right? 1, we want to switch 1 to January, which means that anywhere 1 is represented in the table, it changes to January. Anywhere 2 is represented in the table, it changes to February. Anywhere 3 is represented in the table, it changes to March. Then we do it all the way down to November. Then instead of writing 12 for December, we just write December. What it means is that after we've switched or replaced every of these ones, the remaining number there should be changed to December. Obviously, the remaining number is 12, right? That's why we want to just leave, instead of putting 12 there, we want to just leave it as December, right? So that's the use of switch. Sometimes your numbers will be given, your months will be given as numbers, right? You are expected, you might not have the privilege of extracting the month number from the date, because most likely the month or the year was not given to you. So what do? Right? You use that month using a formula to replace it like this, right? So now we have 2 months, right? So this situation, right, this one here we have is when only the month number is given to you, right? Maybe it might be given to you as day, month, year. They did not join them together as a full date. What you just do is you use the month number to switch, right? You use the month number to just use that switch formula to get the month in its full form. Okay. But if it's given to you as a date, you can use the one we used before, which is text, birth date, and 4 M's, right? It's going to give you the same thing. So that's one of the use, or that's one way we can use DAX formula to get the name of our month, right? The first DAX formula we can use is the DAX formula called switch. There's another DAX formula we can use, which we're going to explore now. But before I proceed, do you guys have any question?
Yes, the question I had is that I was wondering why we had to go that length. I thought some versions of Excel is able to pick up the loop. I'm not sure, but just asking if we perhaps put maybe like January, February, and then it should be able to complete it automatically.
I cannot hear.
I'm just wondering.
Okay, so it might not be able to complete it because this is represented as a number. I don't know if you get it. So it's represented as a number. Now, assuming it was represented as the previous way we had it before, right? Remember the way I was trying to do it before, these numbers were tilted to the left, right? It was recognized as a date. But if it's going to be recognized as a date, automatically you'll be given the full date. But because of it's represented as a number, right, Excel cannot automatically assume that this is a date because it works with data types. So what you would just do is, and if you try to convert this to a date, it will not convert because it will be giving you probably 1890 something. Because remember what I told you guys, that a year is can be shown in a number format. So what Excel will do, let's try this out. Let's try this out. So if I change this to date, have you seen it? To give us 1900 because it's not represented as a date. This is not a date, right? This is not a date. This is so when we are dealing with ordinary numbers, there are some things that Excel becomes limited to because of not because of it cannot do, but because of the data type. Assuming this stuff is tilted to the left, which is probably showing dates here, the way we had it when I extracted it from here, it would have been easier to do that stuff, right? But now we cannot do it because this is represented as a number. So the only way we can beat that in Excel is by using formulas called DAX formulas. I don't know if you get that.
Yeah, understood. Thank you.
Mr. Daniel,
Yeah.
when you were trying to convert the month number to an ordinary number, you went through the process of adding. You did something.
Oh, okay. So for you, you don't really need to bother about that one because what I was just trying to do is, in your own case, it will be given to you like this,
Okay.
right? If you are to deal with it this way, this using DAX formulas, it will be given to you as a number. So what I was trying to do, I was just trying to convert that date we had, right, to number format. Because I was trying to use here, it was not working. So I just had to add it, just use +0. It changes it to a number automatically, right?
Okay.
And I can now use DAX formulas for it. So, but in
Okay.
your own case, you will be given the stuff in the number format. You won't be asked to convert anything. Because if you are converting it from date to number, there's no point. You could just convert that date automatically to a month. I don't know if you get it.
Okay, what I wanted to ask is, if we just like use the alignment function to align the numbers to the right, making it look like a number, will it still work?
No, it won't work. You just align it. Look, I can align birthday to the right,
Okay.
but it's still text. Normally, texts are aligned to text and dates, or texts are basically aligned
To the left.
to the left. Numbers are meant to be aligned to the right. But I can still come here and align this one to the left, but it's still recognized as a number. What I just did is alignment. I can
Okay.
align it. It doesn't
Okay.
change anything. Yeah. Okay.
So you're saying when you add 0 to a text, it becomes a number? Is that what you said?
No, when I add 0 to a date month, right? The month, it becomes a number. If I should add, let's assume I added 0 to this year now. Let's see. So this should be equal to +0. Okay, I don't know why this is not working. Okay, this is shown as dates. Let's see. So let me change this to general. Then it's equal to this +0. This should work. I don't know why it's not working. Okay. But basically, let's say month numbers. I don't know why this is not working. But what I did is I added, after extracting the month number, I now added 0 to it just to convert it to okay, I think I changed it to number. Just to convert it to what do they call it? A number. So let me see. Okay, this is not still working. I don't know why. Right. So I added the month number after extracting it from the date. I just added 0 on it.
Okay.
right? So that 0 changed because it has to be a number format. 0 is a number on its own. So that 0 kind of converted it to a number, right? All I just had to do was reduce the decimal point to a whole number instead of having 0.00. Then I converted it to general. Because if I should leave it to number, it's going to have 0.00. So for any results we're having. So I just converted it to general. So it just stands like any type of format. I can use it as any type of format I choose.
Okay.
All right. So when you have general, the idea is that general is, it could be any type, right? It could be a text, it could be a number, depending on the context you're using it for.
Okay,
Right.
so if you have a text and you want to convert it to number, that's what you do. Put in general.
So you can't, well, ideally you can't convert a text to a number because there's no number you are, text cannot be a number, right? But number can be a text.
For example, your date, the type you gave us before, if it comes as a text, can you convert it to numbers?
So you can't convert your date to the way it came before. Let me see. You can't actually convert it to a number because unless you are converting into the number of the year. Remember, before we were dealing with that entire date. One date could be, okay, let me change it here. This is number. Are you getting it? If I say general. So this one is telling us that if I should change this to, let's say I change this to a date, short date, 1991, right? And I go back, change this to general and change, okay, let me see the full date. Short date should be 6/4/1991. And I change this to general, come here, change this 3 to 4. This should be 6/5, right? Change to Wednesday here. Then I'll come here, change it to short date. It's now 6/5, right? So changing it to a number necessarily it's if you changing the data types works for only numbers to text, but you cannot change a date to a number because it's ideally not correct, right?
Okay.
There's no point of you changing it to a number because the idea is in a text format is because you want to use it as a text format, right? So that's just the idea behind it. But for numbers, sometimes numbers can be used as text. For example, this 6 here, you want to add June and 6 together, right? To be 1. So what I'll just do is I'll Control A everything here, Control C, and I will just paste values, right? Let's say I want to join this 6 and June together. Automatically, what I will do is I'll open a new column. Then I'll just use concatenate, right? Text 1. Now, if I should put quotes and 6, or if I should put, just select this, rather, select this. Then and select this. I close it. Have you seen 6 June? So because of why I can use it as anything, because it's number alone, it's number. I can change this number to a text. But now, if I want to say I want to add and say June plus 6, let's see how that will work out. Is equal to June plus 6. I'm going to get an error because June cannot take the place of a number, but a number can take the place of a text. I don't know if you got that.
Yes.
So
okay, so what is the problem? What is the problem if this date or under birth date, this date now, want to concatenate, do that what you asked us to do earlier, to bring out either the month or let's say the month now. You want to bring out the month number. For example, January is 01. You want to bring it out that way.
I did not get that.
If you want to bring out the month under this birth date now, you want to bring out the month as numbers. And one, for example, cell 1 gives you 4, cell 2 gives you the name of the month instead of like June, instead of the number. what causes that?
It should give you whatever it gives you for cell 1 should give you for everything.
That's the problem I was having. I was having that problem. The first one came as text, one came as, I don't know if I'm correct. If one came as text and the other one as number. So I
if
couldn't it all through.
having
So
this,
giving
you're having
okay.
this should come as the same thing for everything.
But I didn't have, it didn't come out like that for me. So one was say 6, second cell was June, like that. Because some of them were aligned to the left, some were to the right.
No, that's confusing. I really don't know why it's that way, but
Okay.
I know it should probably problem with this formatting, or I really can't say because I don't think I've seen that before. Whatever result you get for the first cell automatically affects everything below.
Okay.
Yeah, so okay, so that's basically one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is using a formula called if, right? I'll just call it DAX months 2. Using a formula called if. Now, if is just based on logic. Do I have a pen here? I don't know why. I thought Google Meet now should have options of writing on the screen. I thought there was that option. Okay. So we want to use a formula called if. If is just based on logic, right? For example, if anybody that comes in here, if anybody comes to look for me and the person has a beard,
Mr.
the
Daniel,
person's, yeah,
sorry to interrupt. You want to demonstrate something for us on your screen. If you don't have the pen, can you use your system have an Epic pen? You can use an Epic pen to demonstrate for us.
okay. I've not really heard of Epic Pen before, but let me see. Oh, okay. No.
Yeah, I think you need to download it.
Oh, that's the thing. I'm trying to avoid downloading things on this laptop. It could be I could download on my desktop, but not on the laptop.
Okay.
Yeah, but let me use Paint. You guys can see the Paint screen, right?
Yes.
So now, if statement is if, let's say, if someone, let's call the person X, has a beard, we want the person to fall under the person is a man, right? We want to call the person a man. If X comes and X has a beard, or let's say if a guy comes, the guy has a beard, we want to call the guy a man. That means this one is only when it's yes, right? What if it's no? Meaning that if X should come and X does not have a beard, let me delete this. I think my flow chart is not right. So if X should come and X, or if the guy should come and the guy, and emphasis on and the guy has a beard, we want to call the guy, let's call the guy Debo so that we can just follow easily, right? Let's call him Debo, right? That means this is only based on yes if the guy has a beard. Now, if the guy does not have a beard, what do we do? If this guy does not have a beard, right, we want to call the guy Stan, meaning that both conditions have to be met. If we're saying and, if we're using and, both conditions need to be met, right? We need to meet both conditions, which means it needs to be a guy and he has to have a beard for us to call him Debo. Now, if both conditions are not met, meaning that it's a guy, all right, but this guy in question does not have a beard. Because of both conditions are not met, we are going to call the guy Stan. But if both conditions are met, we'll call the guy Debo. That is only when we are dealing with and using an if statement, both conditions need to be met. I don't know if you get that. So in a logical statement, we call these things logical statements. You're going to be dealing with more of them in SQL and Power BI. In a logical statement, right? When we say and means both conditions have to be true. If one of those conditions is not true, automatically we are going to reject it because one of the conditions is not true. But if both of them are true, we accept it. Like what we did here, right? We are looking for someone called Debo. So, and I told you guys that, see, if a guy comes into this room and the guy has a beard, don't worry, let him come inside the office. He's Debo. I've been waiting for him. But if a guy comes inside this office to look for me and he does not have a beard, don't let him in. I'm only looking for someone that has a beard. So automatically, my secretary begins to look out for a guy that has a beard, even if she has never met him before. But because of he's a guy and he has a beard, she will let him into the office because I gave that description. He meets these two conditions, which is Debo. Right? Now, if by peradventure Debo went to the salon to shave out all his beards, and Debo comes to the office to look for me, because of Debo is a guy and Debo does not have a beard, my secretary will not allow Debo in because she's looking out for someone that meets both conditions. Has to be a guy and has to have a beard. Do we understand that?
Yep.
So when we are using and condition in an if statement, both conditions need to be met for it to be true. Now, there might be another situation where we have, let's say, if a guy comes to look for me, or someone that has a beard comes to look for me. This is Debo. Then let's put the no as, let's call this yes. Let's put the no as Stan. I'm going to explain this. Now, what this simply means is that if a guy comes to look for me, or someone that has a beard comes to look for me, okay, let me change this Stan to, let me say, yeah. If a guy comes to look for me, or someone that has a beard comes to look for me, we want to call that person Debo. Now, let's assume Debo went to the salon to cut his beard. And now Debo is a guy, right? First condition met. But Debo does not have a beard. This condition was not met. what happens? We are going to allow him into the office because one of the conditions was met. That means it's true. Now, when we are dealing with all statements means that one of the conditions needs to be met for it to be true. Once one of these conditions are met, we can call him Debo. Right? Now, if it's a girl that came to the office, right? If a girl comes to the office and by accidental placement, this girl has a beard, right? Now we can call the girl Debo because Debo can be Deborah. We don't know, right? So if someone comes to look, because we are dealing with all, we did not say and. Assuming it's and a girl comes to look for me, automatically she has failed both conditions because you have to be a guy and you need to have beard. Right? She has already failed the first condition, rather. But because of it's a girl, she has already failed this first condition, but she has a beard. She passes this first condition, this second condition. Automatically, my secretary will send her to the office because she meets one of the conditions. Who knows? Her name is Deborah. But another situation whereby it's not a girl, right? I mean, it's not a guy. First condition failed. This person does not have a beard. Second condition failed. Automatically, it's a no because you failed both conditions, which we can call you Stella. So when we are dealing with all statement means one of them needs to be true. One of the conditions needs to be true. That is what we mean by all. But for and, both conditions needs to be met. For all, one of them just needs to be true. Once one of them is true, it's correct. Right? If we say all Africans are black, right? Africans are black. Debo is an African. Debo is fair. Right? Or Debo is a Nigerian. Debo is fair. Now, automatically, that statement is going to be stand as incorrect because if we say all Africans are black and Debo is very light-skinned and Debo is a Nigerian, it automatically disqualifies it, right? That particular statement. But if we say Africans are black or light-skinned, Debo is a Nigerian, or Debo is, let's say Debo is a Nigerian. Is Debo an African or not? Yes, Debo is an African. Because Nigeria is from Africa, right? One condition met, right? But it did not meet, let's say, one of the other conditions there is dark or light-skinned. So Debo met one of them, right? Light-skinned or dark. Debo met one of them. Debo is light-skinned and he's from Nigeria. That makes him an African. So because of we are dealing with all, one of them needs to be true. We just need one to be true for us to accept it. But when we are dealing with every condition we have there must be true for us to accept it. Right? I don't know if this is explanatory enough.
Yes, it is.
Other people, is this explanatory enough for every other person?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Okay. So let's proceed. Let's proceed. All right. So let me minimize this. So let's go here. Now, in this case, we are not going to be dealing with that kind of complex. I just wanted to explain logical statements for you guys. We're not going to be dealing with that complex one here. We're just going to be dealing with something simple, right? Now, let's say if the month is equal to 6. No. If the month is, let's say, equal to 1, so I'm trying to, okay, we're going to do a complicated one because I want us to divide them into seasons. It's going to be kind of complicated, but you guys might have to follow me. But let's do something easy first. So if the month is equal to 1,
sorry, hold on.
yeah,
Could you like zoom out your this maybe
or zoom in, which one?
Like increase your screen. Can we see it
so that we can see it better?
Okay.
very tiny. Yeah.
All right. So let's say if this is equal to 1, we want that to be January, right? Now, this is the value if it's true. If I should close this, let me see.
You have two equals to there.
Okay.
What's on purpose? Okay.
So if I should close this, every other place will be false. The only place that will be showing January is the one that in January, right? But that's not what we want, right? We want it to show for everything. So I'll come back to the formula. If the month in question is equal to 1, let it be January. Now, that is what value if true. We need to have a value if it's false, right? Because not all the months are 1. Some of them are 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if we click on comma, it takes us to value if it's false. What do? We write another if again. We open another if for the value if false. Now, when I open another if and I click on tab, it now takes me to the logical test, right? It takes me to the logical test. So, I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have done this.
So if you click on tab.
So if I click on tab, it's open the same way you did for text now. You click on equal to there. So this one now, I'm now dealing with another logical test, right? I just copied this and I put this here, the same thing. Then I click on comma. What is the value if true, right? That means if it's not January and if it's not 1, right, and it's 2 instead, we want that 2 to be what? February. Close the quote. Now, this, when I close the quote and I click on, because we are dealing with what value if false for this one. This first one here is the value if false of this one. This second one rather is the value if false of this one, right? And I click on quote and I comma. This comma takes me to another if again, because we have to do the same if. That is why for this simple, for replacing, I'll recommend you use switch, because switch is straightforward than if. The only place I'll recommend you use if is when it is really complicated. But for this month, it's not complicated, it's just replacing them. So I'll recommend you use switch, right? So if I click on tab and I put this, I've already put the logical test. The value if true now will be, okay, let me see. I don't think I need to, let's see. Okay, let me be sure I'm doing the correct thing. Okay. Okay, I think I realize I'm wrong somewhere. So Let me remove this. Let me remove this. So value if false, this should be okay. I think I'm trying to see where, because I'm trying to use a nested if, so I'm trying to see where I'm wrong. Okay. Value if true January, okay. Value if false, if. Okay.
There's also be a gap.
Yeah. Let me see. Okay.
Still the same thing.
Let's give me a moment. I'm trying to remember. Okay, let me just try this. Let me see what it gives me. Okay. Okay. So what I do is that I replace every other thing with this should be 2. Let me think. Let me really think on this. I think I'm forgetting something. Let me see.
If you do it this way, I don't know if it will work.
This
Like,
way.
what?
I'm listening.
Okay. I don't know if you use this formula. Like if the cell equals 1, then we can put bracket January, comma, if cell A1 or this, now in this case D1 equals 2, bracket February, comma, if D1 equals 1, bracket
Okay.
March.
So this should be this. Okay. I think that's what I'm forgetting. So let me see.
Why is it showing red?
Okay, good. Yeah, I think this was what I was forgetting. I was using a comma. Nice, thanks. That's what I was forgetting. So the red is when we close it, because it's a nested if. Nested if is an if inside an if statement.
Okay.
Maybe you have more than one ifs inside an if statement here. So okay. Then inside the same. So we're going to close once we close it at the end, the error should go. So we're going to use another if again, right? So it changes to purple, right? So I'll copy that and okay. If is equal to 3, that should be March. Okay. Then I'm going to use another if again. And here is equal to 4. So that's why I'll always prefer you use switch. When it comes to replacing, use switch because it just makes it is longer than the switch actually. Right. Then we want to use April. Then we close the quotes and use another if again. Right. So this should be equal to 5. May. Another if again. This should be equal to 6. Then the value if true should be June. Then This should be if again. 7, the value if true should be July. And this should be if again. I'm going to explain this. The value is equal to 8. The value if true should be August. Then this should be if again. Value if true should be September. This should be if again. The value if true should be October. Okay. This should be if again. Okay. This should be if again. The value if true should be November. Now here, I don't need to write any other if. I'll just like the switch, I'll just write December. We call this one the else, which means if it's not any of this thing, let it be December. Right? So I'm going to come here, close the purple bracket, close the red bracket, close the orange, the blue bracket. Okay, let me see how many brackets I'm closing. Okay. How many brackets am I closing? This should be okay. This is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm closing 10 more. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. So let me see if this works. So this works. Okay, let me explain this. So basically, what we did is if the month, that particular month, because our DAX formula will loop through from the first row to the last row. So if it's that particular row is looking at, and the row is equal to 1, we want it to be shown as January. If the month is equal to 2, if it's not equal to 1, right, let us now give it another condition. If it's equal to 2, we want it to be February. If it's equal to 2, it's going to replace it to February. If not, we want it to go through another condition again. If it's equal to 3, March. If it's not equal to March, if it's not equal to 3, let it go through another condition. If it's equal to 4, April. If it's not equal to April, let it go to 5, which is May. If it's not equal to May, let it go to what? 6, which is June. Then it loops through like that until it gets to November. If it's not equal to 11, then that means it should be December, because it's one of the 12 months and we have 1 to 12. So if I click on enter here, it changes everything. So what it does is it found out that it was not equal to 1 in this first cell. It was not equal to 1, it was not equal to 2, 3, 4, 5. Then it got to 6, it's equal to 6, it gave this one June. This one, it was not equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It got to 7, is equal to 7, it gave this one July. This particular September, it was not equal to 1 to 8. It got to 9, is equal to 9, it gave it September. So that's what it did for, if we check all the formulas, we'll find out that all of them fall under their right months. All right, so that's how to do a simple if statement. But in this kind of situation, I would recommend you use switch. If you look at switch is not as long as the if. Switch is short. It still does the same job as this. The only place I recommend you use if statement for something as simple as this is if maybe you are changing between male and female, because male and female is just two, right? You can use switch or if, anyone you want to use. But if it's conditions that are as long as this, and they fall under this, just a simple if statement, but the conditions are long, the categories are long, I would recommend you use a switch to make it easy for you, right? I'll recommend you use a switch to make it easy for you. I don't know, do we have any questions concerning this?
No question.
Other people, do we have a question concerning this?
No question.
No question for me.
Okay, 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 okay. So let's proceed then. Let's proceed. So now this is using DAX formulas for the month. Now there's a situation whereby we might want to put this month inside. So we have DAX season. So we might want to put this month inside seasons, right? You know that we have different seasons. How do I clear this? Okay. Okay. So we have different seasons of the year, right? So we have winter. I don't even know how to clear my entire screen again. I'd have loved to clear my entire screen. How do I do it? How do I do this? Okay, good. Oh, nice. So we have different seasons of the year, right? So we have the winter, we have the summer, don't mind me, I'm using my mouse. We also have the autumn, then we also have spring, right? So we know that winter falls between 11 to Debo, help me here. Is it from November to December? Okay, December to February, right? Then summer, okay, spring falls from March to March, April, May. March to May. Summer falls between June and June, July, August, June, July, August. Then autumn is between September to November. Now, we know that winter is, if we're saying December to February, that is 12 to 2, right? Summer is June to August, that is 6 to 8. Autumn is September to November, that is 9 to 11. Then spring is March to May, this is 3 to 5. Now, what we want to do is we want to group this our data set. So it's not really useful to what we are doing because we are not trying to find the amount of people that were born in spring, or it really makes no sense. But It just helps. I want to teach you guys how to do a DAX formula, because in the data I'll give you guys to work on practically, we are going to be looking at, you'll be using that DAX formula. So we want to group our data sets into these 4 categories, right? These 4 seasons of the year. So we are going to group them. So we know that winter comes followed by what? Summer. No, followed by spring, then summer and autumn. So we are going to group our stuff either in this way, or we start from spring. We'll go to summer, we'll go to autumn, and we'll go to winter. We'll find out the one that works for us. Okay? Go to winter. So either we'll group it this way, or we'll group it this way, or we'll start it this way. So we could start from winter all the way down, or we can start from spring, right? So let's look at how we can do that. So remember I talked to you guys about that complicated if statement. If it's equal to this, then this, then this, then this, and all that. So I'm going to use this logic. Right? If it's equal to 12 and is less than or equal to 2, we can say less than 3. Here we can say less than 9, because less than 9 is 8 downwards. Here we can say less than 12. Here we can say less than 6. Right? So we are going to put this as number 1. We are going to put this as number 2. We are going to put this as number 3. Our logical flow. We want to do it from ascending order. We're going to put this as number 4. Which means we're going to start with if it's equal to 12. Right? If it's equal to 12 and is less than 2 and is less than 3, we want it to be spring. And we want it to be winter, sorry. We're starting with this logical flow first. Then if it's equal to, now, if it's not in winter and it's less than 6, automatically, anything that is done in winter and is less than 6, we know that 6 is not less than 6, 8 is not less than 6, 9 is not less than 6, 11 is not less than 6. What logical flow are we talking about here? This one. 3 to 5, which means anything that is 5, 4, 3. Remember, it cannot be 3 here again, because we've done anything less than 3 to be winter. Anything that is equal to 12 and less than 3 to be winter. Right? We are now moving to the next one, which is anything that is not in the winter, but is less than 6. Anything that is not in the winter but is less than 6 is what? 3, 4, 5. They are all less than 6. We want it to be what? Spring. I mean, here, spring. Now, if it's not winter, neither is it spring, but it's less than 9, right? Less than 9 is what? June, July, and what? August. If it's less than 9, we want it to be summer. Remember, I told you guys summer here is June, July, August, right? Now, if it's not winter, spring, summer, automatically it becomes autumn, because autumn is the remaining one that is autumn is the remaining season that is left. Right? So let's talk about it in the formulas first. We'll come here. It's equal to if. Now this is where it gets dicey. We want to use and. Let's try and to see if that our logical flow will work. And we're going to use and click on tab again, right? Because we cannot put the and inside the text. If we were using Local Studio, we'll be able to put the and inside the text. But Power BI and Excel does not allow you to put the and. You have to put the and outside the text so that you write it only once. Now, if, right, and the month in question is what? Equal to 12. Now, this comma we're going to put here represents the and. Instead of us writing the and, the comma represents the and. Our first logic is what? If it's equal to 12 and what? Less than. And what? This won't again is what? Less than 3. comma. So here we're going to close the bracket rather. So I'm going to explain again. If what the month in question is equal to 12, and because we already put this and there, this comma represents the and the month in question is less than 3, we are going to do what? Close the bracket. Why did we close the bracket? Because we want to use it to eliminate, because we have a complicated, this is a complicated if statement. So we want to use that and so that we will write the and only once and not repeat it again. So the and takes care of all. So instead of us to be writing if and, we can just write it once, right? We can just write it once. So if and the month is what? Equal to 12 and this and here and less than 3, we'll now close the bracket. What do we want it to be now? If I put comma, it takes us our value if true. We want it to be what? Winter. We'll write, okay, let me put this winter as. Then we'll put our comma here. Now, we want to now go to our next if statement because we still have other if statements to deal with. Now, if again, this time around, we're not going to write and, right? If the month in question is not in the winter, that's what this and helps us take care of it. If it's not in winter, right? If it's not in winter and it's less than 6, what happens? Value if true, we want it to be what? June. We want it to be spring. Now, if it's not in winter, if I close this, if I put a comma here, if it's not in winter, neither is it in spring. We'll put another if again. If that month in question is what? Less than 9. If that month in question is less than 9, remember I talked about all these things. The less than 6 is this month. The less than 9, this one, right? The less than 6 is spring. The less than 9 is summer. So let's go back. If it's what? Less than 9, we want it to be what? Summer. Then put another comma again. Now, we know that if it's not in winter, neither is it in spring, nor is it in summer. What do we do? Instead of writing down that if statement again, we just put autumn, which means it's going to be in autumn. If it's not in any of these 3, it's going to be in autumn. So what do? We close the first bracket that is purple. We close the second bracket that is red. We don't need to close this other red one again because it has been closed here. Then we'll close this first bracket that we opened here. I'll click on enter. Now, if we look at it very well, 6, let us bring our stuff here, right? If we look at it here, let us bring it here. So if we look at it, let us look at this first one that is saying summer. 6. 6 is summer now from June to August, right? So it's correct. Then 7 is summer. Remember, 6, 7, 8 is summer, right? So 6, 7, summer, correct. 9 is autumn. 9 is September, right? 9, 10, 11 is autumn. So if we look at it, 9, autumn, 11, autumn, 10, autumn. Now, this 12, I think, is where we have that problem. So let me go back to our formula again. So here, if it's, let's say if it's equal to, let me see. Okay. If it's, let's say if it's 11, let me put greater than. So I'm wondering why I'm not getting autumn here. Let me look at my logical flow. if it's greater than 11 and less than 3, okay, if it's so let me change this to or. Let's see. Okay, good. So let me now explain this all because it seems like the and did not work with our logical flow. It's still the same thing. If it's equal to 12 or less than 3, which means now let us now look at it very well. Remember, I talked about the logical statement or and, right? If it's equal to 12 or less than 3, December, that is 12. Remember, December is 12, right? December is equal to 12, quite all right. But December is not less than 3, which means one of the conditions had to, because here, I think why we were getting that autumn in 12 is because we're using and, both conditions need to be true, which means December needed to be equal to 12 and needs to be less than 3. But December is not less than 3, right? So what I did here is changed it to or so that one of these statements will be true, which means that December, if that month is equal to 12 and less than 3, or less than 3 rather, let it be winter. The months we have in winter, according to our logical flow here, is December, January, February, which is 12, 1, 2. So that is why we have 1 here showing winter, 12 here showing winter. Then if it's not in winter, or is less than 6, right? Which means we are sure that it's not in winter, but it's less than 6, right? Now we are not using the or anymore here because the only place we're using is or stops here. That is why we close the bracket. What we are just using here is the same way with this other if statement, just simple if statement, right? If it's not winter, but it's what? Less than 6, we want it to be spring. That is why we have 4 here as spring. Spring is 3, 4, 5. If it's not in winter, neither is it in spring, and is less than 9, we want it to be summer. 8 is less than 9. Summer is 6, 7, 8. Then if it's not in winter, it's not in spring, it's not in summer, automatically the remaining season is autumn. Let it be autumn, right? That is why we have autumn here as 9, autumn here as 11, 10, 9, and so on, right? And so forth. So that is how we can use that if or to do this. If you try to use switch to do this, it will not work because switch does not work for complicated movements like this, right? This if or, that's why I discussed the or and the and for you guys at first. The if or works for complicated things like this. The if and, if we wanted to use if and, now we will start from spring, right? If we wanted to use if and, we will not start from winter, we'll start from spring. Why? Because we could just go direct and say, if the month in question is, let's say, greater than or equal to 3 and less than 6, automatically it's spring because March is greater than or equal to 3 because it's equal to 3, right? Then we have April, May. April is less than 6, is greater than 3. May is less than 6 and greater than 3, right? So it falls under that first category. If we wanted to use if and, right, we would have done it in a different way. Let me show you guys how that could work. So if we should say if, okay, and the month in question is what? Greater than or equal to 3, comma, the month in question is what? Less than 6. We want that to be spring. So we're starting from spring. because we cannot start from winter using the and because of its complicated because of it's very complicated 12 and the 3 parts, right? We want this to be okay. I'll close this, then put a comma. I want this to be what? Spring. Now, if it's not spring, we'll now go to another if. And that month is what? Less than 9. We want that month to be shown as summer. Now, if it's not I hope this one will work because I remember it gave me an issue before. If it's not spring nor summer, but the month in question is less than 12, that is 9, 10, 11, right? And it's less than 12, we want it to be autumn. If it's not any of this, we want this to be winter. So I hope this will work. Close this, and enter. Okay, it still gave us the same thing, right? 12 winter. Okay, one summer. Okay, let's see. If and let me see if it's because of this. That is greater than or equal to 6. Okay, so I'll explain this later on. Let me just if this still gives us a mistake, then I'll just say use or, because and can be very complicated most times. So what's the next one? This should be less than or equal to 8. This should be less than or equal to 5. Then we want this to be this is summer, right? Then if and the month in question is greater than or equal to 9, and the month in question is less than or equal to 11, we close the bracket, put a comma, we want it to be autumn. Close the quotes, and we want the rest to be winter. Okay. Okay, so let's see. Okay, I think this worked. So before I even proceed to explain this one, do you guys understand the or? Should I come again in explaining the or?
Yes.
Okay. So let me do Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. Okay. So let me first enlarge my screen. Okay. So the or is basically, now the or is much easier than the and. But when you are working, I'll recommend you try the two to find out the one that gives you your result, which is why it's very important that you have it in a very simple, have your logical flow first, right? Your logical flow will guide you. So logical flow is what we call pseudocode, okay? Logical flow is just basically what we call pseudocode. Pseudocode is your code in English form, right? Your code in English format. This is a pseudocode here, okay? This thing we have here is a pseudocode. Now, you could easily understand this one until you go to the code. So if you can understand this one, it becomes easy for you to know what you're meant to write. So what we did here is we know that 12 is not less than 3. The ones that are less than 3 is 1, 2. They are what? Less than 3. So how do we conquer this issue? We conquer this issue using or. If we should use and, what it means is that we are saying if that month is equal to 12 and that same month is less than 3, automatically December is equal to 12. Yes, one condition met. But December is not less than 3, which means it has failed the condition. That is why December was exempted from that stuff. Right? There was no winter when we used the and the first time. December was exempted from it. December was shown as autumn. Right? So what it means is that December did not pass the condition. So how do we make December pass the condition? By using or. It means that if the month is equal to 12, or that same month is less than 3, what happens? December is equal to 12, right? One condition met. Is December less than 3? No. But what did we say about the or? One condition has to be met for it to be true. That is why we left it that way. So if that month is equal to 12 and less than 3, let it be winter. Now, if that month is not in winter group at all, we know that winter group is less than 12 or equal to less than 3, equal to 12 or less than 3. We don't have to start writing this code again. We are using this winter as our criteria now. If that month is not in the winter group, but that same month is less than 6, automatically, if you're not in the winter group, right? If you're not in the winter group, which means that you are not 12, you are not 1, you are not 2. But that same month is less than 6. Remember, we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And that month is what? Less than 6. Definitely, they are not here. Which other month do we have that is less than 6? 3, 4, 5, right? Because 6 is not less than 6. So 3, 4, 5 are the months that are less than 6. Now, if you are not winter, but you are less than 6, automatically you are in spring. Now, 3, 4, 5 less than 6, right? What are the months that are 3, 4, 5? March, April, May. They are in spring. That is why we have them in this category. Now, if you are not in winter, you are not in spring, and you are less than 9. Let us now go back to our logical flow. If you are not in winter, meaning if you are not 12, 1, 2, you are not in spring, meaning if you are not 3, 4, 5, and you are less than 9. What is less than 9? 6, 7, 8. 9 is not less than 9. So what is 6, 7, 8? Let's go to our stuff. 6, 7, 8 is June, July, August. We want it to be kept in summer, which means June, July, August is summer. That is why we have 7 here for summer. Now, if you are not in winter, you are not in spring, neither are you in summer. What does that mean? It means that if you are not 12, 1, 2, you are not 3, 4, 5, neither are you 6, 7, 8. What are the months left? 9, 10, 11. Automatically, this 9, 10, 11 will be represented as autumn. That's why we don't need to write the code for autumn again. Because automatically, if it's not part of this one, it should be autumn, right? That is why when we clicked our enter button, it automatically showed us the correct grouping, right? Now for the and, I don't know, is this one explanatory enough?
Yes,
If you're gracious, is this explanatory enough before we proceed?
Yeah.
Yes, it's fine.
Okay, so let's now go to the and. Now there's another way of doing it, right? Let's let's now use the and, right?
Sorry, this code, before you change it, can you paste it somewhere? Like, is it, do we have it somewhere?
Okay, let me, where's my, so I'm going to, my, my charts are open, so I don't want to expose them. I'll just put them here.
Okay.
And put them in the group later on.
Okay.
So let's now go to the and, right? So here, I'm going to change this to and. Okay, let me just. So we want to deal with and. Now, the thing about and now is that let us go back to our logic. We know that for the and, we have the same numbers, right? Now, if we say 12 equal to 12 and less than 3, I already explained how logically wrong that is. But if we say, let us now start from another season, we know that this spring season after winter is spring. The spring season has 3 months in it, 3, 4, 5. So how do we design our logic to start from spring? We can say that if that month is what? Greater than or equal to 3, meaning let it start from 3, and the month is what? Less than or equal to 5, meaning let it end at 5 or equal to 5. We want that one to be what? Spring. Now, our next logical flow will be automatically, it will be starting from 6. If it's greater than or equal to 6 and what is less than or equal to 8, we want that to be summer. Now, the next one will start from 9. If it's greater than or equal to 9, meaning let it start from 3, let it start from 6, let it start from 9, and less than or equal to 11, let it be autumn. Meaning let it end at 5, let it end at 8, let the 8 be 8, let the 5 be 5. Here we were doing, if it's less than 3, 3 is not counted. But here, let the 5 be counted. Let the 8 be counted. Let the 11 be counted. Right? Now, if it's not any of these ones, automatically the remaining stuff is what? Winter. That is the remaining thing. So this is our pseudocode for the and. So let's now go here and build it. So we want to say if and the selling, okay, if and if and if and the cell in question, right, is what? Greater than or equal to 3. Okay, so I'm going to just copy this because of when it gets longer, I won't be able to see it again. So if and the cell in question is greater than or equal to 3, comma, the cell in question is what? Less than or equal to 5. We want to close that and call that spring. Okay. We'll click on the next one. We're going to the next one now. We've done for spring. Now, if the cell in question now is what? Greater than or equal to 6, and the cell in question is also less than or equal to 8, close it. We want that to be what? Summer. We'll move to the next one. If what? Okay, if and So let's remember to put and here. If and. So and should be behind everything, yeah. If because all these ones as this if and here is only touching this one. This if and here is only touching summer. Our next if and should be touching autumn. So if and the cell in question is what? Greater than or equal to 9, comma, the cell in question is also less than or equal to 11. We'll close it. We want that one to be autumn. Then we'll click on comma again. So here we don't need to write for winter. We can just say the remaining ones should be what? Winter. Then we'll close this, and we'll click on enter. 1 is winter, 12 is winter, 10 autumn, 11 autumn, 4 spring, 6 summer, 6 summer, which is correct, right? Which is correct. Okay, so that is basically if and or statement. So I don't know, did you guys understand this where I came back to it again?
Yes.
Discover new insights from their data.
Okay. Well, you are going to be doing the same thing now. So anyway, so basically that is how the if and or statements work. We're going to be doing more of them using Power BI, but this is just basically for this particular task in Excel, right? This is basically for this particular task in Excel. Okay, so assuming our data here, let's say, I don't know how many states. Assuming all these states were represented in numbers now, we could use the switch. So let's say Ohio is represented in 1. We can say switch 1 to Ohio, switch 2 to Michigan, right? Switch 3 to Pennsylvania and all those kind of things, but they've already given us the state name. Sometimes you would find out that the male and female are represented in 0 and 1. We'll just use switch or if to change the 0 to male, 1 to female, right? It could be any of those things. So what I want you to do is I want you to get your data set. So for the month, you don't need to do, you can just practice what we've done on the month, right? But I just want you to get your data ready up to this point, whereby we're going to have seasons, right? So get your data ready up to this point for seasons, right? Which means you need to do what I did to the date. If you are confused, you can just watch the video again. Do what I did to the date and get it in a number form. Then use that to do for your seasons. You don't need to do for the month. I'm sure you already have your months there. Use that to do for the seasons. And yeah, just to practice the if statement, if and or statement, and also if and statement. Then you can also use this same stuff to practice the switch, right? The switch. Because in our next session, we're going to now look at how we can actually, because this data is almost clean, right? So I'm just going back as if it's not clean. So in our next session, we're going to actually be looking at you making sense of this data. I'm sure you guys did the summary of columns before using your pivot tables, and also this one, we created a new column called seasons. We're going to look at how we can visualize this entire stuff, right, in our Excel. But we're not going to dwell in visualization for Excel, right? We're going to actually focus on that using Power BI, because Power BI is what most companies use, right? We're going to be learning how to do more intensive visualization in Power BI. But we're going to understand how to make meaning of our visuals from Excel before we actually go to Power BI, right? So is there any questions you guys might have for me?